Welcome to Creating Custom Photoshop Brushes. My name's Tom Smalling, and I'm going to go ahead and work you through how to accomplish this. So our home for this is going to be our table of contents, and this is really what we're going to learn. So the first thing we're going to go over are the materials you need, how to create the artwork, how to scan it, prepare it, and then how to get in and create the brush preset, and finally how to choose the brush preset. And when all that is done, I'm going to give you a quick review, and then I'll give you my contact and resources. So first things first, let's talk about the essential materials you need. So one of the first things you're going to need is some watercolor paper. Now you can use any type of paper. I like watercolor paper for this exercise. It's nice, it's heavy, it can get wet, and you can do some fun things with it. Second thing, you're going to need some black paint. Again, I would say buy some watercolor paint. As you can see there, that is an actual tube of watercolor paint. It works well with the paper. It looks good. You could use another color if you wanted, but I highly recommend just get black. Obviously, you're going to need some paintbrushes. You're also going to need a mixing palette, and it doesn't have to be one of those fancy plastic ones. You can use a paper plate like I have there. And finally, you're going to need a cup of water just to help you create everything. So now that we have all our materials, it's time to create the artwork. Now, I'm not going to get in all the specifics of how to paint. My assumption is you can kind of figure it out. So instead, I'm going to give you some ideas. So one of the first things I tried was a splatter effect, where I just put a bunch of paint on the brush and I just knocked it against my hand to get a neat splatter effect. After that, I said, you know what? Let's try a drip effect. So I got a lot of water and a lot of paint on the brush, and I made a big puddle on my paper, and I just lifted the paper up and the paint just ran right down, and it was a neat drip effect. You could also get the same effect with a canned air and actually blow it against the water and the paint, and you could do some really fun effects with that. The next effect I experimented with was getting a nice spread of the water. And to get this effect, what you do is you make a puddle of water on your paper. You grab some paint and you just dip the paint right into that puddle, and it'll slowly spread out from where you put the brush. And finally, I was trying to get creative, so I went outside and I grabbed a big leaf and I painted the whole leaf black, and I put it against the paper, but I was hoping to get a better texture, but I still got something real interesting left behind, so I got a found object like that. So there's lots of different ways to make artwork. Really, it's limited by your creativity. Once you have that artwork done, it's time to bring it into the computer and scan it. So obviously, you open the scanner, you put it face down, but before you do that, let me tell you, let the artwork dry. Don't rush this process. The last thing you want to do is get a bunch of paint on the scanner glass, because it's a really difficult thing to get off. So once that artwork is dry, go ahead and lay it down. For this, you can go ahead and scan the full page. We can use a tool in Photoshop to isolate the different sections we want. So just select the entire page. And for resolution, normally I would tell you 300 pixels per inch is fine. You don't need more. This is one of those unique situations where you might actually want a bigger scan, because these brushes, we might want to use them at a very large size. So in this case, I would consider using 600 pixels per inch for your pixels. Preparing the artwork. So now that we've scanned the artwork, we're going to go ahead and we're going to open in Photoshop. And one of the first things we need to do is we need to get rid of all the color information. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to choose Edit, Convert to Profile. And what's going to happen, a dialog box is going to open up and it's going to ask, what profile do you want to convert to? In this case, we just want to convert to the working gray profile. Mine happens to be dot gain 20%. If yours is something different, that's fine. Just go ahead and grab the working gray profile, because we want to get rid of all the color information. Once that is done, we're going to make some adjustments. So the adjustment we're going to make is what's called levels. So if you look at this image, it shows a histogram, and this one's pretty easy because there's not a lot of information there. But what I want you to pay attention to are the two things I have circled. I have a dot for shadows and a dot for highlights. What you're going to do, you're going to grab that little slider. For the shadows, you're going to move it to the right. And what that's going to do is it's going to make your blacks a little bit blacker. That way we have a lot of good detail. And on the right side, your highlights, you're going to drag those to the left a little bit. And that's going to get rid of the detail in the highlights. So we're not getting all the paper texture, just some of it. So go ahead and grab those. Experiment with the best placement. If you want to change your midtones, I don't have it highlighted there, but you can move your midtones up and down to get more detail or less detail, depending on what you want. Once you have that done, we're going to go ahead and we're going to create a brush preset. So to create a brush preset, the first thing you need to do is select the artwork. I highly recommend just grabbing the polygonal lasso tool. This is a very easy tool to work with. What you're going to do is you're just going to click around your image to isolate it. So in this case, I chose one in the middle of the page and I just clicked around it and did a rough selection. It doesn't have to be a perfect selection because Photoshop is going to ignore all the white areas and make the brush out of the grays and blacks. Once you have that selected, go ahead to the edit menu and choose define brush preset, and a dialog is going to open. It's going to ask, what is your new brush name? In this case, I'm just going to write watercolor brush 1 and hit OK. Now that we've made our brush preset, how do we actually get to it? So the trick is, first, let's just go ahead and make a new blank document. So in Photoshop, go File, New, and as you see in this screenshot, we're looking at the new document under the print presets, and I just chose letters. So just go ahead and click Create. You're going to choose the brush tool, and so just choose that. And after that, on your options bar up top, you're going to have a drop down, and the drop down is called the Brush Preset Picker. So go ahead and click on that, scroll down, and you should see your new brush named Watercolor Brush 1. Now this works just like any other brush inside of Photoshop. You can use colors with it, you can use opacity, you can change the size of the brush, you can add all different sorts of textures and things like that to the brush. So it's a really easy way to bring in a custom brush, and it does everything you think it should. Now let's go ahead and let's just go through the skills one more time. So after we made the artwork, one of the first things we did was we brought the artwork to the scanner and we scanned it in at 600 pixels per inch. That 600 is important because I want to make sure your brush can be scaled nice and large for when you need it for some really big projects. After we brought in that image, we had to throw out any color information. So one of the first things you have to do is just convert it to a grayscale image. After that, we used the levels tool. And what we did with the levels tool is we pulled in the highlights some and we pulled in the shadows to darken up the image a little bit and to get rid of some of the paper texture and the whites so we could get a good, clean, easy selection. Speaking of selections, we used a polygonal lasso tool to isolate the brush we wanted. And after we had it isolated, we used the edit menu to define our brush preset and named it whatever we wanted. And finally, when it was time to work with it, you chose that new brush in the preset picker, and there you have it. So it's a quick, easy way to create a brand new brush in Photoshop. Now, if you'd like to contact me, my name is Tom Smalling, and you can contact me at my UCF address. It's tomsmalling@knights.ucf.edu. And if you're interested in this, but you want to find some other brushes instead of going through the work, I found two great websites. One of them, Brush Easy, and the other one is Brush Lovers. And both of these websites will give you tons of good free resources to use for your projects.